Wilt Chamberlain is probably the best pure athlete ever to play the game of basketball. Standing at 7'1" and weighing in at around 300 pounds, Wilt was a force to be reckoned with who still holds numerous NBA records. A lot of them will probably never be broken, which proves how dominant an athlete Wilt was in his prime. Wilt led the league in scoring and rebounding on multiple occasions, and it was believed he had several seasons where he averaged a triple-double by having more than 10 blocks per game. Unfortunately, blocks were first recognized in the 73-74 season, which was 1 year after he retired. Luckily, there is data for blocked shots in 112 games Wilt has played in, and they show something remarkable. There is a Wilt Chamberlain's game log which has records of all the games Wilt Chamberlain recorded a block in. In those 112 games, Wilt has averaged 8.8 blocks per game, which is pretty impressive and unbelievable at the same time. What is even crazier is that these blocks were recorded in the later stages of his career, when he was already 35, 36 years old, which shows how big of an impact he had on defense. There are numerous games on this list in which Wilt recorded more than 10 blocks, which would be an unofficial triple-double in the NBA books. Keep in mind, this data is only for 112 games in Wilt's astonishing career, in which he played 1,045 regular season games. Of course, it should be considered that basketball was played differently in that era, with a lot of shots coming close from the basket. That enabled Wilt to have so many blocked shots, which would be much harder in today's game where most teams force the outside shooting more than ever before. To put things into perspective, the NBA all-time leader in blocked shots is Hakeem Olajuwon with 3,830 blocks in his career, while Mark Eaton holds the records for total blocks and blocks per game with 5.5 during one season. There is no question Wilt would probably shatter all of these records if blocks were recorded from the beginning. Speaking of Mark Eaton, he once shared a great story about Wilt. Eaton wasn't talented at a young age, so he was a reserve on his high school basketball team. After graduation, Mark started to work as an auto mechanic. Still, at the age of 21, he was discovered by an assistant coach at Cypress College who talked him into playing basketball, so Mark committed to the community college. Soon he transferred to play basketball for the UCLA Bruins and was drafted in the 4th round of the '82 draft by the Utah Jazz. However, Eaton wasn't high on confidence after becoming an NBA player, but one talk with Wilt changed it all. I was feeling sorry for myself, and I was thinking that maybe I just can't play at this level. And at that moment, I feel a large hand on my shoulder, and it's Wilt Chamberlain, arguably the best basketball player that ever lived. Wilt retired from the NBA a few years earlier, and every afternoon he would come down and watch the younger players work out. Wilt said to me, "First of all, young fella, you were never going to catch that guy, and more importantly, it's not your job." He took me under the basket and said, "Your job is to stop players getting here. Your job is to make them miss their shot, get the rebound, throw it up to the guard, let them go on the other end and score. Your job is to cruise down the half court and see what's going on. I've been watching you and I see the skill you have at defense. This is what you need to focus on." When Wilt shared that with me, everything changed. I understood what I needed to do. I understood what I can be great at. I wasn't that fast, I wasn't good at scoring, but I did have a talent for preventing others from scoring. And it took Wilt Chamberlain to see it. I stopped running around trying to do everything and instead focused on one thing I could be great at. And I went on to become one of the great defensive players in the NBA. Eaton said per CLNS.